Everyone is talking about rate cuts, but few are looking at where the smart money is flowing right now. And these 5 Singapore REITs quietly turned bullish over the past 2 weeks. After months of consolidation, the charts are starting to show a clear shift in momentum. And what I found could signal the start of a bigger move. If you have been waiting on the sidelines wondering when to position for the next leg up due to these rate cuts, potentially coming even more, well, this might just be your window. Let's dive into the charts of these 5 Singapore REITs and uncover what they're revealing now before the rest of the market catches on. Let's go. So the first Singapore REIT I'd like to talk about today would be Keppel REIT, right? The code is K71U. And Keppel REIT owns and manages what we call Grade A office properties, right? In prime districts like Raffles Place. I think you might be even working there as well. They have like Marina Bay Financial Centre, ORQ. These are what we call top Grade A office properties. All right, and you can see that we have the chart of Keppel REIT right here at about $1. So this was one of the REITs that I covered in my previous YouTube video on the Singapore REITs, I think about a month back, with somewhere around like 90 over cents. It's gone up a little bit higher. So it looks pretty strong. Why? Because my take is that the trend is still intact in terms of the upwards direction. Let's take a look at what we call the long-term trends. You can see, right? 100 days moving average, the red line is crossed above the blue line, the 200 days moving average. So when we see the red above the blue and both pointing up, it means that the longer term trend has turned from like sideways. So it's like a bit of sideways, right, for the past like 10 over months. But somewhere around July, August, the longer term trend has officially turned up, right? And that's a good confirmation. The next confirmation will be the short term trend. Look at the green line, right? I mean, since like May, June, it's turned up. Right now, it is kind of like still pointing up. Does it make sense so far? So the longer term trend is up, the short term trend is up. We want to focus on stocks like this to ride potentially even more upside. Even though they might be slightly more expensive, but there could be more room to go, right? That's where they are poised to hit even higher and targets could be raised, right? So what we can do right now is that I have these two, I call it the One Good Trend Pro Indicator based on my One Good Trend strategy. And based on this tool, right, we can actually turn on what we call bullish and bearish signals in seconds. So let me just show you what I mean. Right over here, let's turn it on. Let's turn on the buy and sell signals to see what it says. Pump, there we go. And once I turn it on, you can see that we actually got a 1GT bullish signal coming out. It's kind of like the first confirmation somewhere around May, right? But then it was still trading sideways. However, we got 2 more confirmations in terms of the trend pointing up somewhere in June, July, and August, right? And of course, just push up even higher. So this 1GT bullish signal is still in play. There is no bearish signal up. I mean, you can see that there's no red bearish signal. So it still looks pretty good. And what we could do is that we could turn on what we call the trailing support level. So based on this 1GT Pro indicator, I have a very powerful feature called the trailing support and resistance levels. You can see, right? Once we got the bullish signal coming out somewhere in May, right? Well, we have what we call this trailing support popping out. So this trailing support are kind of like, follows Keppel REIT as it moves up, giving it the space to breathe, to maneuver, all right? And it accounts for volatility as well. So you can see, right, as it moves up from like about 85 cents, it moves up all the way to $1. Well, the trailing support also follows it, right? But you don't follow it too closely, right? Give it the space. You can see there's some space between the price and the trailing support. And there we go, right? Flat up, flat, follow. And we're somewhere around the 95 cents. Still some space between the price and the trailing support. So it looks pretty good still, right, in terms of the trend, also in terms of it being above this trailing support that gives it the space to breathe. So I think not too bad, right? I think what happens is that we might see what we call a little bit of resistance, right? Over the past 1 week, it seems like $1 would be a little bit of a psychological resistance level that we have attempted to break above it and still kind of like staying above it. So I think not too bad if we can stay above $1 still. This resistance will now turn into what we call a new support level, and that's where targets could potentially be raised, maybe all the way towards 105 or maybe even towards the $1.10. So this is Keppel REIT, one of the REITs that I've covered in my previous YouTube video. I think it looks good, right? Ending above $1 or maybe even above that 95 cents whereby space is given, right? I think there could still be more room to go. The second Singapore REIT will be that of Suntec REIT, my Suntec REIT that owns, office and retail properties in Singapore and Australia, and it also owns what we call the Suntec City Mall. I think some of you might have shopped there as well, right? So let's take a look at the chart of Suntec REIT right now at about $1.32. So you can see that I've turned on my 1GT Pro indicator, right? And it alerts us on stocks like this, that comes out with bullish and bearish signals. So you can see, right, for Suntec REIT, well, we actually got a 1 bullish signal coming out right over here on the 22nd of July. So about 2 months back. 2 months back, we got a 1 GT bullish signal as the first confirmation. Of course, the short-term trend turn up. Look at the green line, up, up, up as another confirmation. And there we go, right? We went from like about 115 all the way to somewhere near $1.32 right now, right? So in terms of the longer-term trend, you can see that there are some signs of it starting to turn up as well. Look at the red and the blue line. I mean, for the past one over year since 2024 August, for more than a year, right? You can see that it has been pretty much sideways, very boring. It was like going up and down, up and down. It was like moving sideways from like 105 to 125, right? The longer term trend was sideways, but over the past few weeks, or finally, we have seen signs of the longer term trend turning up in terms of the red line pointing up, and not just that, it points up and it went across above the blue line, the 200 days moving average. So 100 days moving average above the 200 days moving average, both lines pointing up. Well, that would be a start of a longer term uptrend, coupled with the bullish signal, coupled with the short term trend pointing up since August. So I think it looks pretty good, right? And what we could do is that we could draw this resistance level right over here. I think right now, over the past 2 weeks, it seems like we've seen a bit of a resistance around the $1.35 level. So I think that's a key resistance level. It's normal to see some profit taking, the fact that they've gone up by about, let's see, by about 16% since about 1-2 months back, all right, after getting the bullish signal. 16% rise, well, seeing a bit of profit taking near $1.35. But the thing is that if we can break 135, we go to like, maybe 136, we can place some alerts, 136, 137 maybe. That is where potentially on some bullish price sections above 135, targets could be rise, right? We could see more upside, maybe all the way towards the 140 to maybe 145, or maybe even to 150. That's where potentially upside momentum can continue. So that's where we're going to ride stocks like this, right? Until we see signs of weakness, until we see signs of the trend turning down, or like maybe even a bearish signal coming out, right? What do you mean by bearish signal? Like for example, right, previously for Suntec REIT, we got a bearish signal, So when we see like red bearish signals coming out, then plus other confirmations, then you want to be careful, you want to get out, take some profit, and don't hold it all the way back down. Does it make sense? But so far, as what I'm saying right now, well, we got a bullish signal still in play, came out in July, we are going up, right? Previously in fact, July last year, we got a bullish signal and went all the way up, and we got a bearish signal to get us to get out. So right now, no bearish signal. Let's see when that comes out. The third Singapore REIT I would like to share with you, and that would be StarQ Global REIT, right? One of the REIT that I talked about in my previous YouTube video a month back as well, all right? And this is StarQ at about 0.575. So StarQ Global owns some of the retail and office properties in Singapore as well. We have like flagship assets like Wisma Age or even Ngee Ann City as well, along Orchard Road. These are very popular assets, all right? But let's take a look at the chart to see what it has said over the past few weeks. So you can see, right, same thing for StarQ Global REIT, right? We actually got a 1GT. So 1GT stands for one good trend, right? The name of the strategy that I've been using for more than 15 years now, right? So we got a 1GT bullish signal alerted right over here, and there were already some signs of the trend turning up both in the longer term and also in the short term. And there we go, right? All the way up from about 50 cents to 0.575. So yeah, slightly more expensive, but I still think that we are poised to hit even higher. We potentially could see what we call a higher support being formed right now, maybe around that 55 cents. So 55 cents would be a little bit of a horizontal support that have came out. It was a bit of a resistance. We broke above it. We are still above it, right? Green line still pointing up. So not too bad. Anything above 55 cents, I think targets could be, maybe to 60 cents first, after 60 cents, potentially all the way to 65 cents as well. So this is StarQ Global REIT, right? Still looks good, the uptrend, and could turn on the trailing support to see what it says as well. So this is a trailing support. You can see, right? Once we got the bullish signal, well, a trailing support popped up. That's another confirmation. It followed StarQ Global REIT as it moves up, follow. And you can see somewhere over here, right? Somewhere around 55 cents. That's where the horizontal support is. The trailing support is right there. So anything above these support levels, I think the upside still remains, right? We could push even higher still. So let's move on to the fourth Singapore REIT, and that would be Fraser Centrepoint Trust, right? And guys, if you want to find out a little bit more about the entire strategy, or perhaps how you could have a tool like this to guide you on when to get in, maybe when to get out, well, what you could do is to attend one of those free webinars, right? The link is right below the video. So that's where we spend some time to break it all down for you and to share with you guys in terms of the entire 7-point confirmation that we look out for. Right, so check it out. The link is right below the video. But let me move on right now to the fourth Singapore REIT, Fraser Center Point Trust. So Fraser Center Point Trust is what we call a retail REIT. It owns more like Causeway Point, even North Point City, some of the what we call the suburban retail malls in Singapore. And it caters to shops whereby there's like daily necessity, there's foot traffic every day, right? People they have to do their groceries and all that. So you can be seen something like a defensive REIT retail play as well, right? So you can see that this is Fraser Center Point Trust, about $2.35. Well, 2 months back, maybe somewhere around April, right? April, we got finally a 1GT bullish signal coming out, a second 1GT bullish signal coming out in April as well. So previously, right, that was in September. Okay, so right, we got bearish signal, and there we go, right, all the way down. So when we see a bearish signal, we don't want to rush. We want to wait for some stability. We want to wait for some bullish price actions to come back. We want to wait for some bullish signals to come back as well. And that was what happened in April and May, right? And there we go, right, from about $2.205 all the way up to $2.34. So I think it looks not too bad. Well, the longer term trend since around June, it has a turn in terms of the rate going above the blue. Short term trend, well, it was a bit of a sideways movement, I would say, right, from about 230 all the way to 215. So 215 to 230 down, right? It was like, from May to July, it was just going from 215 to 230. But however, all right, yes, came back into my watch list because over the past 2-3 weeks, finally, we have broke above the $2.30 psychological resistance, whereby previously we touched, we sold off, touched, sold off. Even here, right, we touched, we sold off. So we have finally cleared above the $2.30 resistance level that we have been trading below for more than a year. So that's a very good sign. It's a very meaningful sign of more upside. We could turn this resistance, the red line, right, let's turn it to green in color right now, because that would now be what we call a new support level. So 230 maybe all the way to 240 seems like some selling pressure is coming back. I think it's normal to see some profit taking around 240. So the range is like 230 to 240. My take is that if we can break 240, well, short-term trend continue to point up. The green line will continue to point up. These two signals are still in play, and that's where targets could be revised maybe all the way to $2.50. So the fifth Singapore REIT I'd like to show you guys in this video will be that of Mapletree Industrial Trust, right? And this would be what we call an industrial REIT that owns what we call business parks, data centers in Singapore as well, all right? And they have what we call long-term tenants, slightly more defensive plays, whereby we are starting to see reversals, all right, in terms of the price actions of the entire sector as well. So you can see this is Mapletree Industrial Trust. It doesn't always look too bullish, right? In fact, previously in like last year, we got like bearish signals, and it starts going down. But we wait for confirmation. So somewhere around like July, we got 2 bullish signals that lead the rally all the way up. But then what happened, right? In October, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bearish signals, and it starts going down, right? That was like what has happened over the past 1 over year. But let's just zoom into what has happened in the past few months. So finally, right, I would say that we have broken what we call this resistance level. So 205 would be what we call a resistance level, where we touched somewhere in April, right? Trump announced tariff, we sold all the way down. We neared it, came back down again. You can see, right, somewhere over here, sold down. So this 205 is a key resistance level that many times we hit it there, and sellers just came out and we pulled back, right? We retraced down, but finally, somewhere around August, right, 26th of August or 25th of August, right, we finally got a 1GT bullish signal. In fact, that was the second. The first one actually came out somewhere in April, whereby it just moved sideways a little bit down, but we got a second 1GT bullish signal coming out on the 25th of August to be exact, right? And that's where, of course, we have seen signs of the short-term trend that was going sideways. The green line was going sideways, started to turn up as well. So another confirmation. There we go, right? From 205 all the way to about $2.13. So I think that this is more like a reversal play, whereas like stocks like we've covered, like Suntec REIT, Keppel REIT, they have pushed up. They are in a longer-term trend for a while already, or over the past few months. But for Mapletree Industrial Trust, it just started over the past 2 weeks. It's more like a reversal play that is ongoing. So as long as you stay above maybe this 205, or let's maybe see, right? I think there would be probably a new support coming in around $2.10. I think targets could be raised maybe all the way to like 225, after 225, maybe all the way to $2.40. So yeah, one of the reversal plays that is ongoing in terms of the longer term trend. We're going to take a look at the red and the blue line. So look at the blue line, the 200 days moving average, right? You can see it's starting to flatten out, right? The red line has pointed up, but you can see the red is still below the blue, right? So if you were to see like the rest of REITs like Keppel REIT, like Suntec REIT, when the red goes above the blue, that would be another confirmation that the longer term trend has turned up. That would be a sign, a stronger sign of a reversal also in the longer term. That's where I think we could slowly see it pushing towards our targets from 210 all the way to 225. All right, a bit of profit taking, maybe a bit of consolidation, which is healthy. And after 225, if that breaks, well, targets could be revised all the way up to $2.40. All right, so Mapletree Industrial Trust, more of a reversal play on this REIT. So that's it, guys. These are the 5 Singapore REITs that you want to put in your watch list for potentially more upside, as the Federal Reserve has finally cut rates for the very first time in 2025, all right, by 0.25%, and it's planning or kind of like earmark or penciling in 2 more potential rate cuts that could leave. REIT sector is more, reliant on borrowing costs. Whenever there's a dip in borrowing costs, a dip in interest rate, it will be a positive for the REITs, right? And this REITs could continue to benefit even more. So you want to find out a little bit more about the entire One Good Trend strategy like I mentioned, right? And perhaps how you could have a tool like this, the One Good Trend Pro indicator, to guide you on when to get in, to be alerted on this bullish signal that it comes out, maybe be alerted on the bearish rate signal as it appears as well. What you could do is attend a free webinar. The link is right below the video. Click on it for this free webinar, and that's where I look forward to share with you guys the entire strategy, break it all down for you step by step, and also share with you guys how do we actually filter out the top 1% of stocks, right, before even knowing what to do with them, when to buy and sell them, right? That's exactly what I'll cover in the free webinar. Joey here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, follow button, and I'll see you in the next video.